Welcome. In this one, we're going to take a look at Saturday's fixtures, and it is mouth-watering, not just in the Premier League. You've got Championship playoffs, League One playoffs. In fact, you've got playoffs all across the country. We'll start with England, and we will start by taking a look at the data between Sunderland and Luton, two teams coming into this playoff semi-final first leg in superb form. Now, Vincent Kompany was awarded with Manager of the Year, and no doubt he was on the shortlist for it as well, in my mind. But I think Rob Edwards, given what he's done, and it's a strange one because he was sacked in the same season by Watford, wasn't he? I think to have this kind of consistency, as we're seeing here in the Championship, with the teams around Luton, he's done a magnificent job. He really has, and it shows that he's a good coach. It shows that Watford are really struggling in terms of how they appoint managers and the philosophy and everything else. But they've not lost many games on the road. Again, to say that this is the Championship, this is not an easy league, and especially if we're looking at sort of the value of a squad, there's many, maybe even Sunderland's, that costs more than Luton Town's. And they finished third, which is, again, remarkable. Sunderland, though, let's have a look at their home form. Only one victory since the 18th of February. Since the 11th of February. And that was against Reading, who, as we know, were relegated from the Championship. Middlesbrough, they've beaten Middlesbrough at home, they've beaten Blackburn, they've beaten Millwall, so that they're capable of putting in a performance. And of course, with that crowd, this is what I'm going to love about these games, the crowds in playoff games, and especially at a stadium like Sunderland's. But the reverse leg as well, that Luton ground, if they do get to the Premier League, they're going to have to improve it, aren't they? It's so small, but it does create a pretty good atmosphere in there. So given this, I just think we're going to see a tight game. And Sunderland, actually, when I've watched them, let's have a look at their away form. It kind of suits them being the counter-attacking team because they can really get the ball forward quite quickly in a few passes. With Stewart, it used to be a bit more aerial, but now with Gelhardt dropping in, they are quite fluid, and he's doing really well at just being that sort of false nine. And 3-0 away at Preston is a great result. The way that they're just always in the game, and then they can score so quickly. I mean, the game, where is it? The 4-4 draw with Hull. Some of the goals that they scored, if you watch those goals, they're the kind of goals I associate this Sunderland side with. Really quick counter-attacking football, using the wingers, using the pace that they've got in the side, and it's a young side as well, which is where they might win it in that second leg. And I think it's a strange one because usually your home game you want to just set the tone, maybe take a lead, but I think Sunderland would absolutely take a draw in this game because of how they can play away from home and how it probably might go in the second leg against Luton. If we look at Luton's home form, though, it's pretty good, to be honest. They've won 5 of the last 6 at home. Drew with Hull on the last day, which they might have rested some players, of course, and Hull already confirmed their safety with Liam Rosenior, who, again, he's on the shortlist for Manager of the Year as well, if we're looking at a sort of alternative winner, because he has done a great job at Hull in actually making them able to defend. I mean, the start of the season, they were absolutely shocking. Looked firm favourites for relegation, as did Huddersfield, and Warnock, another on that short list of alternate winners. We can take a quick look at the odds. We'll do a comparison just to see who the bookies are favouring. It's tight, isn't it, as you would expect. I think we'll see under 2.5 goals in this game, and we'll just go and check what the odds are for that. 1.66 is the best you're going to get. Of course, playoff game, anything can happen, but I think these two teams, given the way that they played thus far this season, you don't ever see Luton getting battered, so I don't think they would be in a position or put in a performance where they would lose this game in the first leg. Luton will be thinking that a draw is a good result, and I think Sunderland will be thinking the same thing as well. So given that situation where both teams are thinking that, I think it's likely that we might see a pretty stale game. Hope I'm wrong, because I always want to see entertaining games, but I think over 2 legs, that second leg anyway, is going to be the more exciting game, I think. In terms of the others that are being played, Bolton against Barnes, we'll take a look quickly at this game. We can see the recent results. Bolton coming into this with 1 defeat since the 11th of March. Barnsley coming into this conceding and not winning in the last 3 games. So that is the first thing that pops up really in terms of the differences between the two teams. 9 goals conceded in the last 3 games. That is not how you want to come into a playoff game. The previous meeting between these was a 3-0 win for Bolton. The away team has won the last couple of games because Barnsley won the one before that. And then there was a couple of 0-0s, and then we had a 2-2, but that is in 2018. So since 2021, the home team has not won this fixture since 2021. That's something that maybe might not stand out because this is a playoff game and Bolton are in great form. They're very capable of winning this game. Shouldn't discount it too much just because of the head-to-head. There was a red card for the home team in that last game where Bolton won it as well. An early red card, looks like a penalty because there was a goal straight after as well. So that's that semi-final. Let me know as well, by the way, what you think about all these games in the comments on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you're watching this game. Got banned off TikTok because, I was showing the odds and odds comparison, and you're not allowed to mention gambling stuff on there. So that's fair enough, but there's a few of you asking where that channel has gone, and it's evaporated, unfortunately. They just banned me when I got to 25k followers, which was a bit annoying. But I was enjoying making those. They're quite fun and easy to make, those prediction videos. So I'll try and do more of it for YouTube. But I've just noticed that YouTube, your videos don't go anywhere if they're like 1 minute or 2 minute long. So I try and do a longer sort of overall preview videos now going forward. So we'll take a look at the Premier League, and that game at the top is massive, isn't it, for both teams? Newcastle want to bounce back from the Arsenal result, and Leeds, well, first home game under Allardyce. I'll be watching this one as well, I think. So this one's 12:30. Then you've got the League One playoff, and then you've got 5:30 for Sunderland Luton. So it's possible to watch them all. And then the League Two one, this has been timed very well by Sky, hasn't it? Is then a 7:45 kickoff. So you can pretty much watch all of them. Notts County is probably one I will watch if that is the final. Yeah, so I just checked. It is the playoff final. And yeah, good luck to Notts County because they've, over 101 points they got in the National League, and to have to go through the playoffs, they got through just, I don't know if you saw that semi, but they scored in, the very, very last seconds, basically, and it was an exciting game, like 4-3 or something. Yeah, them and Wrexham, they've just been sort of trying to outdo each other all season. It was a great, healthy competition, but for just one team to go up from the National League, I think they should look to change that to 2 automatic spots and maybe include a playoff spot as well. We can see why Allardyce was brought in. They've picked up 1 point since the start of April. The only team they beat is Forest in recent times. They're conceding for fun. People would say they were sleepwalking into the Championship. And Sam Allardyce has come in and he played as expected at City. They did get a goal, but I think in that first half, I actually think Bamford is having a really poor season. I think he's got to improve. He needs, if he cannot make the ball stick, then it doesn't work, because you need your centre forward to be able to at least hold it for a few seconds. And the ball was bouncing off Bamford a lot, and he just needs to find that form. Maybe he needs somebody playing closer to him, a little bit closer anyway, so that that player can sort of pick up the pieces when it doesn't necessarily keep Leeds in possession, which is sort of what happened against City. This is a different kind of game. We can see Newcastle's form. They were in superb form, to be honest, weren't they, before that Arsenal game? So how will they bounce back? Previously on the road, they've bounced back with a victory. And if you look at their results, the only double defeat was when they played Liverpool and City. So they can kind of be excused for that. They only lost once, didn't they, in the first half of the season, which was away at Anfield. So if you look at the teams they've lost to this season, Newcastle, they've lost to Liverpool. They've lost to Liverpool again, Man City, Aston Villa, which maybe is the odd team out here, but under Emery, Aston Villa are, I think, going to be right up there next season, especially if they make the right transfers. And they did have a bit of a purple patch, didn't they, Aston Villa, where Watkins was on fire, and it was in that patch that they turned over Newcastle. And the other team that they've lost to is Arsenal. So Newcastle are hard to beat, and I think that's the first thing that you've got to acknowledge when weighing up Leeds' chances, because ultimately Leeds, they are scoring at home. That's one thing I would definitely take note of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've scored in the last 6 games, and they've scored goals against Liverpool in that run. They've scored 2 against Brighton. that's sort of it in terms of the quality of the teams. Leicester conceding for fun. I do think this number on the right-hand side will go down. I don't think they're going to be conceding 5 or 6 at home anymore, not under Sam Allardyce. I just think even when it gets to 4 or 5 or something, you sort of, when it gets to 3-0 after 20 minutes, you change something, and Sam Allardyce would, of course, do that. And I just think the last manager, Gracia, he just wasn't really doing anything about it, which is why I think they made the change. Even in the game, he just really wasn't reacting to what was happening on the pitch, and there was mistakes. I think taking the keeper out is going to make a big difference for Leeds, and the thing that will make a difference if they do stay up, I think it will be because of this. It'll be the synergy between the players and the fans. That is a great stadium when things are going for you, and when the fans are on your side. And I think, again, that's why the change has been made. It's just a new lease of life. Sam Allardyce coming in, first home game. It's now an event rather than under Gracia. It would have just been, here we go again. For that Leeds game, I'm thinking maybe BTTS because I can't call it, given how good Newcastle are and how I think they will bounce back. And Leeds, they're gonna really try and suffocate the game, I think, because they've got a lot of respect for Newcastle. But they've got to be better at just getting that ball up to Bamford and getting it to stick. I think they've got the players to hurt you, Leeds, but that transition is really hard for them, and it's going to be hard for them now, given that Sam Allardyce is here, because they're going to be playing further up the pitch in their own half, I think. We'll take a look at Chelsea Forest. We'll look at the recent results because we can see Lampard got that first victory, didn't he, away at Bournemouth. Will that be a little bit of a boost for the players? Had a bit more confidence. Frank Lampard talked so much during his losing streak about confidence and that the players need more confidence. They don't look confident, blah, blah, blah. You can see that they've been conceding goals as well. If you look at the home form, they've won one home game since January, and that was at home to Leeds, who, as we know and as we've seen, have been struggling. So it really hasn't been a good season for Chelsea in any stretch. They've tiptoed and switched around different kind of transfer policies and stuff, and it hasn't helped any manager that's been in there, whether that was Tuchel having, I think, players signed for him at first. I don't think Tuchel would spend 60 million on Cucurella. I don't think that was his signing at all. And I think that's what started the feud between him and Todd Bowley, and then, of course, Potter coming in and having all these players signed for him. Again, I don't think Potter... If Graham Potter had the choice, he'd probably keep the squad smaller and try and work with the players. And it's just going to be so hard for any manager to work with that number of players, I think, when a high percentage of them expect to play. Now, if Nottingham Forest stay up, it will be because of this. This is their home form. If you look away from home, it's been terrible all season. They've won once, and that was away at Southampton. And they really don't score many goals. They've had a few more goals in this last sort of month, but up until that Southampton game, they hadn't scored. They scored one goal in the first sort of 10 away games this season, which is really poor. If you look at the goals tab as well, you can see that they've scored 0.47 goals per away game. That's not good. They've scored 8 goals all season away from home. If we look at the goals scored table here, we can see that Chelsea are 16th in terms of goals scored in the whole Premier League. This is overall. They've actually scored the same number of goals. Chelsea have played one game fewer. If we look at that away ranking, though, we will see that it puts Nottingham Forest rock bottom. West Ham 18th, Wolves 19th with 12. So 4 goals fewer than the next best team. So it's been a terrible season on the road for Forest, and that's one thing they'll look to improve next season. I think they have to be honest, or they're just going to struggle again. Now, if we do a quick odds comparison, despite the poor form, I think the bookies are thinking that recent win at Bournemouth will give some confidence, and it's a nice game for Frank, this, isn't it? You know, whilst the spirit is high after the victory, he can tell them to go out there and express themselves, knowing that Forest are not really going to offer much unless they find something from somewhere. But away from home, they've just been dreadful, to be honest. So if we do a prediction with AI here, we can use the probability values and generate a score, generate an outcome based on 5,000 simulations. Let's do it. And it gives us a 2-0 victory for Chelsea. And that is likely because of the data based around the lack of goals for Notts Forest. As we as we showed before, Nottingham Forest, sorry, not Notts Forest. Home goals during these 5,000 simulations, 2.26 per game. That's based on 11,000 home goals for Chelsea. The away team, Nottingham Forest, scored just 0.97 across these 5,000 games. And overall, there was 16,000 goals, 3.24. And you've got BTTS there, and over 2.5, 65%, as you can see. And you've got the actual probability model here as well. Now, you can view this without generating the prediction. If you want to just view it quickly, you can see that it gives Chelsea a 65.77 probability rating in terms of winning this game. You can use these figures to create value bets as well, and that's what sort of powers the value bets page. So you can get the implied odds, and if the actual odds, which you see right here, are higher than the implied odds, then you've got a value bet. Now, Liverpool don't play on Saturday, but they will be watching this game, Manchester United hosting Wolves, because Man United need to just keep winning these football matches if they're going to get that top four. They've created a bit of a situation for themselves with a couple of defeats in a row. And of course, Liverpool, what are they on, a 6-7 game winning streak at the minute? So there is a little bit of pressure on there now. And I think if Man United were to drop out of the top four this season, it would be a bottling. It would be, because it was there for the taking, really. It was. I think at one point they were, 8 or 10 points clear of the next team, certainly of Liverpool. I mean, they've really allowed Liverpool to make something of this situation, and fair play to Klopp and the way that he's changed his team, and bringing Trent into midfield, I think has really worked for Liverpool. So another concerning thing for Man United would be the lack of goals. They've not scored in the last couple of games, and Weghorst has sort of fizzled out, being very generous for what form he did show at the start. But there was a couple of games where he played as a 10 and he did quite well. But yeah, against higher quality opposition, I just think Man United haven't got that cutting edge. Rashford has these very good spells, but he's not on one at the minute. He's scored 2 Premier League goals since the middle of February. It's not good enough. Martial coming back from injury, but it's the same Martial as before. He's not improving. To say the hype that was around him when he first joined Man United, he has really not improved much, to be honest. He had a single good season, didn't he, where he got like 17 goals or something, but they're just not killers in front of goal. I think Rashford, if he can find that consistency throughout the season, it might be slightly harsh on Rashford mentioning the 2 Premier League goals since the middle of February, but that's what it is. He's had an injury, he's come back, and he's not been able to find the form that he showed in the first half of the season, and certainly after the World Cup as well. And for Wolves, they are a bit inconsistent, losing away at Leicester, then beating Palace, losing 6-0 at Brighton, and they were really bad in that game. But at the same time, Brighton just had one of those days where all of their players were having like an 8 or 9 out of 10, even in the first half. It was 4-0 at half time in that game. And then they beat Villa, which, is a good result. I think they're finding that sort of form, aren't they? Because there is more unbeaten games in this spell than defeats. There's only 2 defeats in the last sort of 7 games. They beat Chelsea, they beat Brentford, they drew at Forest, which, given Forest's form, is not the worst result in the world as well. I think Forest might have given Wolves probably less respect than they would give like City or someone going there. So it's not the easiest game for Wolves. I think most people would think Man United get this job done, but it's not going to be an easy game for them. I don't think Wolves are going to make it easy. Wolves, I think at this stage of Lopetegui's career and reign on Wolves, I think he's going to be sort of just showing us what they can do from now until the end of the season. It's same with Aston Villa. I don't think they'll have any kind of targets really for this season when Emery came in. For Lopetegui, the target was to avoid relegation or avoid getting dragged into that, and he's done that very well. So I wouldn't write Wolves off for this game. I think they've got a lot to give still under Lopetegui, and he has showed glimpses so far. So you might want to look at a double chance for this, maybe create a double chance double, which is what I quite like to do sometimes. You can see you get decent odds for a draw or Wolves in this game, and given Man United's poor scoring record, given that Wolves, even under other managers this season have been good at the back. It's just the goal scoring that really has been the problem area for them. There's so many teams in the Premier League, and they are one of them, that I think would be transformed. In fact, there's two playing against each other right now that would be transformed if they just signed a number 9 that is going to guarantee you 15, 20 goals a season. For Man United, they get goals from elsewhere. Of course, if they could sign somebody that gets 30, 35 goals, Harry Kane, Osimhen, if they could sign someone like that, it would transform them, take them to the next level. But I think also if they could get a striker that is always fit, is going to get you 15 to 20 goals every season. In a very good season, he might get 25, 30. But the average is kind of lower because they just need that consistent number 9, I think, Man United. Rashford is best off the left. I don't think there's any doubt in that. Martial is best sold. I don't think there's any doubt in that. And then they just need someone that can play there. Weghorst is good at the sort of hold-up play and can connect things, but he lacks in the cutting-edge department. He's not going to even get you 15 goals for Man United, I don't think, which I thought he might, given his time in Germany, and when he came to Burnley, it didn't work. He went to Turkey, didn't he, before the World Cup, and he was on loan, and he was scoring goals. But, it's just not worked, and it's not going to work either. You can tell his age profile isn't right. They need someone young, fit, and hungry for goals. I would go for Ivan Toney if they can get him. Obviously, they're going to try and get Kane, and Kane would absolutely transform Man United. But I think whoever gets Ivan Toney is gonna bag some player as well. Another interesting one, if Everton do go down, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin could go to a team like Man United, and I know it sounds like a strange transfer at first, but it could elevate him, could make him such a better player, playing with better players. No disrespect to Everton, because he hasn't scored a lot this season at all. He's not been on his best. He had an injury, didn't he, at the start of the season, ruled him out for a while, and it's probably why Everton are where they are, because they're a different team when he does play and when he plays well. When he plays well, he can be unplayable sometimes, and I think there's still a good chunk of his career left to come. He would be maybe a good replacement for Harry Kane at Tottenham or for Brentford if they were able to get him. That would be an amazing signing should Toney leave. He could be replaced by Dominic Calvert-Lewin, absolutely. Singles is the way, just for anybody that's watching this that, still bets like 5 or 6 multiples on the same slip, an acca, as they call it in England. You just hand in the bookies money, that you're their best friend if you do stuff like that. It's what they want you to do. Oh, just add another bet, and just watch those odds go, oh, it's 42 to 1, it's 120 to 1. Well, let's look at an odds converter website, shall we? And if it's 120 to 1, that means it's got 0.8 probability of actually coming in. Even if you say, oh, but it's 40 to 1, what you should say, or what they should show you on the bookies websites, which would deter people from betting, it has a 2.5 chance of happening. Do you still want to give us your £10? Of course you don't. So, yeah, but now if you go 3.25, 30.8% chance of winning. Now, if you've got a good strategy where you can pick games like that, I mean, Wolves at Old Trafford, given how Man United plays, it's not out the realms of possibility, is it really?